Good morning, friends. Mark Holmes here, of course, with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know this literally does not work. So let's get open for business here, and let's wake up the football gods. How you guys doing this morning? How you doing? I don't know about you, but I'm doing great. It is finally freaking Friday. It's Memorial Weekend, although the weather is going to be kind of not so good on the East Coast. It's actually going to start raining midday today, into Saturday, into Sunday. It's actually, after being in the 80s for the last week or so, it's going to be like in the 60s, and I think even 57 on Sunday. So, it's kind of like, really? You had to wait for the weekend for that to happen? Well, it is what it is. It's funny because yesterday morning I got up real early, and the day ended up being a lot longer than I thought. And I was finally getting a chance to look at comments because my wife said to me this morning, said, "What did your fans think about your haircut?" I said, "I'll be honest with you." I said, "I haven't really had a chance to go through and see the comments on the hair because it was late, the day before, and I was working in the shop. My daughter came by and wanted me to cook her some steak and vegetables on the grill, and then I had to finish these pieces for building this picnic table that I went to. So it was like I just didn't have enough time, and there's just never enough time in the day to do everything, so I didn't actually check out the comments. It's still long, pretty long up top here, but I miss having the mullet effect in the back here where I could kind of grab a hold of it and things. But it'll grow back. It give it another year, it'll grow back. But it was funny because I was looking this morning and somebody said, "Great set. I love the set, but the intro is cringeworthy." Well, I'll say this much. I am old, okay? I'm old, and I am a creature of habit, and I have to do the same thing to get me into a groove. I'll be 100% honest with you. Most of the time when I sit down here, I don't really know what I'm going to talk about. I mean, I'll have an outline in my head of thoughts, but this is unscripted. This is literally me getting in here and just defecating on the microphone, so to speak, okay? And just going with the flow. It's one take, and it's out. So sometimes, it'll end up being perfect. Other times it's not so much, but it's real. It's not polished like ESPN to set a narrative and get a reaction. It's just the way it is. And so for me, I need to do the same thing to get me into that switch going on. So, it's evolved where I always say, it's Joe Boo and thank everybody. And I don't even know what it is. All I know is once I sit here, I'm on cruise control to go through and do that thing. I get my first sip of coffee, boom. Push the button, turn on the light, and then all of a sudden the lights come on and then I come on and I'm ready to rock and roll. So if it's cringeworthy, cringe. It's okay. Ooh, yeah. We all enjoy a good train wreck, don't we? Yeah, we like to see a car crash. It's cringe. Oh, let me watch again. So it just is what it is. And I'm okay if you don't like the cringeworthiness. I am just going to be me. I want to read a definition of something to you guys. Definition of energy. Physics. The capacity for doing work. It may exist in potential, kinetic, thermal, electrical, chemical, nuclear, or other various forms. There are moreover heat and work, energy, i.e. energy in the process of transferring from one body to another. After it's been transferred, energy is always designated according to its nature. Hence, heat transferred may become thermal energy, while work done may manifest itself in the form of mechanical energy. All forms of energy are associated with motion. Key on that one. For example, any given body has kinetic energy. Kinetic energy means it's waiting to be used. Kinetic, okay? And when it goes into motion, a tension device such as like if you have a bow, okay, you're now taking that kinetic energy, boom, and you let it in the spring go. You're transferring that energy. It has though at rest, kinetic energy, though at rest, has the potential of creating motion. If it contains potential energy because of its configuration, similar, nuclear energy is potential energy because it results from configured subatomic particles in the nucleus of an atom. So there's nuclear energy. So it's the process. So you've got the atoms that are kinetic, which means they have potential to go nuclear to create this massive energy. I know what y'all are thinking. I remember some of that from school, right? Energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but only change from one form to another. This principle is known as conservation of energy, or the first law of thermodynamics. For example, when a box slides down the hill, the potential energy of that box has now been located high up on the top of the slope and is converted to kinetic energy because of the motion. As the box slows down through friction, the kinetic energy from the box motion is converted into thermal energy that heats the box on the slope. And I know you're going, what the hell is Mark talking about? Are we going to school? Is this channel turning into a classroom? Shit. No. I want to use this because everything in life I can relate to football. I don't know if this is like 6 degrees of separation or whatever, like Mike Rowe does, but energy, potential energy. The Dallas Cowboys weren't anywhere close on using their potential energy. The Dallas Cowboys season was ass. Let's be clear on this. The Dallas Cowboys season was terrible, okay? And you look at that and say, Zeke Elliott, what happened? Lots of fumbles. Didn't seem to have that burst of energy. Dak Prescott, 6 games in, he's gone. La'el Collins, Tyron Smith, both injured. Got no energy from them. Jalen Smith, definitely disappointed. Low energy. No, actually, he's high energy with the swipe. Van Der Esch, potential energy, but just wasn't there. You can go down the list and you look at the Cowboys and say, there's a lot of potential energy or latent energy that wasn't tapped. The team finished 6-10, a disappointment. But you look at that and say, the Dallas Cowboys actually have a lot of energy that is potential energy. Now, I will say there's no guarantee that all of those potential energies will reach their peak, to become thermonuclear, that atom that, is kinetic energy waiting to be reduced to explode. But you look at the Cowboys and say, all of this kinetic energy was latent. But if they actually go to its potential, you look at this and say 6-10 blows way up. You look at this and say there is actually a very high ceiling if you realize the complete energy potential. The sky's the roof, or the sky, or the ceiling's the sky. I can't remember how it goes. I got to go back to my books. So that's what you look at with the Cowboys. They underperformed, without a doubt, but they still were 6-10. Okay, let's look at the Washington football team. Do you look at the Washington football team and say that they had a lot of latent energy that did not reach its potential? I dare say you look at the defense and start saying, okay, they performed above expectations. They weren't latent energy. They were actually energy realized. You actually looked at the offense with the exception of the quarterback, although I will say Alex Smith actually had some really good games in there. For the most part, you didn't see a lot of underperforming or latent energy from the Washington offense. So the question is, what is the potential for the energy that they have on that roster? How high is the ceiling for them? Did they overperform or underperform last year? because you can only reach your potential. You can't really go beyond your potential. Am I making any sense here? Because I look at this and I say, well, if Zeke Elliott can get to a 1,400-yard season, it's not out of the realm of possibility, right? If our offensive line's potential of having Tyron Smith and Lyle Collins back for the season, and that Tyler Badish takes a step forward and Connor Williams stays steady, and Zach Martin comes back from the knee injury, that this potential can be realized to help Zeke Elliott get to his potential, right? If the offensive line is good in opening up holes, probably chances are Zeke Elliott can get to 1,400 yards. That's not a reach. It's not a reach. You don't look and say that hasn't happened before. If Dak Prescott's ankle is good and he can play all season, it's not beyond the shadow of the doubt that we'll get 30 touchdown passes from Dak Prescott and, 4,000 plus yards. We've seen it before. That's the potential for the offensive passing. We know that can happen. That is that latent energy that we need to make kinetic to realize its potential. We know what the wide receivers can do. It's not beyond the realm of possibility that they each get 1,000 yards receiving. That potential, boom, becomes kinetic. So we look at that and say, if that potential or latent energy becomes realized, this Cowboys offense could be the best in the NFL. Now, let's go to the Washington football team. Do we look at the Washington football team and say, if Ryan Fitzpatrick goes to his nuclear capability and that the Washington football team goes to where they are expected with their energy, do we look at them and say they could be the number one offense in the NFL? It's not to say that it couldn't be, but when you look at it, the potential is not really quite there. I would say the Cowboys' potential is a lot higher than what the Washington team will do. And this is the way we have to look at things. The Dallas Cowboys should be capable of a lot more than 6-10 was last year, provided we get people back on track. And there's major incentives for people to get back on track. For example, Jalen Smith right now, has to be one of those guys that says, I got to refocus, recommit to being just a football player, or else I'm not going to be here. If you really love being a Dallas Cowboy player, you've got to realize your potential energy. Not just the swipe energy, your potential for making plays. Lyle Collins, Tyron Smith, you go down the line, Zeke Elliott, Dak Prescott. We have all of this potential energy that, if they reach its potential, could be nuclear. And at the moment, I feel pretty good by what I've seen. I know it's only OTAs. You don't really know anything until the pads go on. Everybody is happy about what's going on right now in camp. Hell, in Jacksonville, they're happy about Tim Tebow being there. Tim Tebow. And if you listen to Skip Bayless, he's going to tell you that Tim Tebow will make the Jacksonville Jaguars nuclear because he is the best thing since sliced bread, but everybody was mean to him and never gave him a chance to go nuclear. Poor Tim Tebow. But he's actually starting a trend. I hear Brandon Jacobs says at 38 years old, hell, I'm a better athlete than Tim Tebow. I'm coming back. Hey, why not? There's money out there if you can make a roster, even if you're the last guy on there. So with that being said, I've got some work to do in the workshop. We'll see what's what and who's who. I am way behind because I didn't get home till like 11:30 last night, drove over 480 miles. To put that in perspective, yesterday and worked in between. I know Trucker's Life and Mr. Truckee, I know that's nothing to you guys because you are the guys that are keeping this country rolling, okay? I appreciate you. But see, I'm an old guy, and, you know, I do construction work. But to put that in perspective, I could have gone by the Washington football team, gave them the finger, told them to kiss my high yellow parts, then drove to Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, giving them the finger. Hell, I could have mooned them too, and told them to kiss my high yellow hind parts. Drove to the New York Giants. What would I have done to the New York Giants? I guess I'd give them the finger too. Literally, or I find a Giant fan, I bitch slap him, call him a cockroach. That's what I would do. Literally hit everybody in the NFC East there. And from there, I could have gone to the Jets and laughed at them, and then went to New England. Maybe I could have spied on them and still had miles left over to go. I could have probably made it all the way up to see Mike J. Yeah, I could have made it to Mike J's house too. That's how much driving I did yesterday. Whew. But you know what? The work never ends. And it's time for me to go get busy. As always, you know the deal. Our folks here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report.
You did one hell of a job, and the only thing else I got to say is, how about this Cowboys? Yeah! Bye, Felicia.
Y'all stink.